Publicity of the Northern Elders Forum, a former chief of staff to President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, and he recently resigned as political advisor to President Bola Tinubu, talking about Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed. Doctor, nice to have you join my talk today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, let's start this way. You said recently resigned as the political advisor to President Bola Tinubu. Talk to us about this resignation. Some persons say Malam resigned because he wants to join what some call the gang up of the North against a Southern president. Give us a true picture of things.
There is no gang up of the North against the South. I don't know anything about that. And I resigned because I wasn't happy about the job. And when you're not happy about the job, you leave the job. And basically, that was what it was.
You're not happy about a political advisor to the president, such an exalted stuff? Tell us, there is more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, they give you a job and a job description, and they tell you what to do. And you go there expecting to do the work. But when you're not doing the work, you have two choices. So you sit it out, sit there for 4 years, waiting for something to happen, and you collect salary and sit in a nice place, or you leave. I chose the latter because there wasn't much to do.
No, give us a better insight. There was nothing much to do because I remember you were sent. You operate from the office of the vice president. Or does it have anything to do with the rumored rift between the president and the vice president, and vice president being a northerner, you also being a northerner? You are not comfortable with that arrangement?
You keep going back on this northerner thing. It has nothing to do with that. The vice president's office has always had the unfortunate potential for being idle. The vice president has only 2 jobs assigned to him.
When you said vice president, is it this vice president?
All vice presidents in the Nigerian constitution. In fact, actually, all vice presidents across the world. But most vice presidents under presidential systems, they call them spare tires. I'm sure you've heard of this.
Yeah, very well.
And if you're unfortunate to have a spare tire at precisely the moment you need it, you're in trouble. And when you haven't checked your spare tire and you find that when you need it, it's punctured or it's out of air. Anyway, most vice presidents have the potential to be idle. It depends entirely on the disposition and the chemistry between the president and the vice president. When I left, the chemistry was excellent, but for me, you need to understand, I had done many things in my life. I was a public officer for 35, 40 years. I've done many things. I went into this administration on the assurances that there will be work for somebody like a political advisor. I found that there wasn't much to do.
Now, if we need to fix this system, what are the things you will recommend? Now, some groups are talking about a constitutional review. The National Assembly is talking about constitutional amendments. So what are those things you think should be done that will make this office not that redundant, according to you?
I don't know. I think it's not so much a constitutional review. It's the quality of people who become our presidents. They pick very good people to become their deputies. And then, generally speaking, they become redundant. So they're underutilized.
You pick very good people to become your deputies and they become redundant?
Yes.
This redundancy you're talking about, was not like that during the days of President Obasanjo. The Vice President Atiku was one of the most taxed vice presidents Nigeria ever had.
In the first term. In his first term, he was one of the busiest vice presidents ever. In his second term, he wasn't.
The game changed.
Yes.
So where was that system in the first term?
I think President Obasanjo became a president. You know his background was military. And he had a politician, your hardened politician. Atiku was actually elected a governor in Adamawa State. He had to give up his governorship to come and become a vice president. He was an exposed, hardened, mature politician. He knew the system. And President Obasanjo delegated huge amounts of responsibilities to him. And I think he did competently well. Somewhere along the line in the transition between the first time and the second time, I think something happened that affected their relationship. And he ended up being a very idle vice president for the rest of the second term. So it depends. Like I said, the politics of managing the vice president and the president's office is very complex. Too many people read meanings into it. Again, for me, it boils down to the disposition of the president, the chemistry between the president and the vice president, and sometimes up to the mischief of people close to the president.
Of people.
Yeah.
You're a former permanent secretary.
For 10 years.
For 10 years. Yeah. You're a former chief of staff to Senate President Bukola Saraki. Talk to us. What was it like? What did you observe? When you were permanent secretary, you were, I think it was during the Obasanjo presidency, then during the late President Buhari's presidency, you were the chief of staff to Saraki.
Yes.
What was it like? Tell us.
I think what was really interesting is that in spite of difficulties, mature politicians can actually place service above politics. President Saraki, by the time I went to become his chief of staff, was already being prosecuted by the EFCC. Literally being prosecuted almost on a weekly basis. And this man would leave. He was the leader of the National Assembly, a whole arm of government.
That was an aberration.
Well, I don't think any Senate president...
For him to be prosecuted and was still keeping that seat.
No, he didn't. He wasn't required to leave the seat. He hadn't been found guilty.
But the body of morality will say you will step down for transparency.
It doesn't. If it was, I assure you, Saraki would have stepped down. And other people would have said, you cannot be going from the chambers, hallowed chambers of the Senate, to the dock.
No, but what's the difference now? I'll come back to the Saraki issue.
Sure.
Senate President Akpabio, some people are saying he should step down because there's an allegation.
But he has
not even gone to court. Saraki was being prosecuted, and you say he should not.
But the difference is people are saying Akpabio should stand down because he's been sued.
He has not even gone to court. One man is in court, and he did not, and you say it's okay?
Yeah, but Saraki was facing trial. He was being tried, and there was nothing in the law that says once you are suspect, you stop performing your functions.
There's anything in the law that says once you are accused, you stop functioning. Is that not?
Accused is not, they haven't found you guilty.
Exactly.
They could also say you are not guilty, like they did in the case of Saraki.
Exactly.
After all that hustle, he would leave the hallowed chambers of the Senate, ask Ekweremadu to continue with the session, enter his car, go to the court, enter the dock, sit there, answer questions, and come back.
Now, how did you manage his office? The office of the chief of staff?
It wasn't very difficult. He was actually a very good Senate president. I mean, I think his leadership was amazing. And he was I think quite possibly the 8th Senate was the best Senate, the most productive Senate.
To some, it is debatable.
Well, I'm giving you my view.
Okay.
He had been a governor for 8 years and the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum. I think he was well prepared for that. Spent another 4 years or 8 years outside, out of power, became a governor, then moved to Senate, spent a session in the Senate, one term in the Senate, then became Senate president. He was a good Senate president. And the 8th Senate did a huge amount of work, in spite of the serious tensions that existed between Saraki and President Buhari. And in fairness to President Buhari also, he respected the National Assembly enough, the legislature enough.
You think so?
To actually leave room. Yeah, he did. He did, because he could work with Saraki as president of the Senate, but they didn't get along personally.
So in the future, the plan to rewrite the Nigerian constitution, we've seen certain extremes. The extreme of a president and the VP, after first time there was a rift, and also the Senate President and the President. Now, what will you advise in evolving a new constitution for Nigeria so that we can deal with these landmines that seem to be dragging us back?
Well, actually, the relationship between Vice President and the President are very minor issues if in the context of this debate about constitutional amendment. You have to go back to the basics. The real argument really is, do we need a presidential system of government? On what basis did we choose the presidential system of government? What are its drawbacks? What are its advantages? Why, does Nigeria need a presidential system of government where one man decides everything that happens in the country, literally on his part, and he could be checked by the legislature. Yeah. But if, like we have now, the president finds a way to limit substantially the effectiveness of the legislature for his own political reasons, then you're in trouble. You have an extremely powerful president, a very pliant and a very timid National Assembly, legislature. That means two arms of government are in the pockets. One side, you have the executive.
And it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because the legislature exists not just to make laws, but also to check excesses of the executive.
But also in the parliament, we had those ills.
We do.
Because that's why we jettisoned the parliamentary system.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying we jettisoned the parliamentary system only after 5 years.
We're thinking too much about ethnicity rather than being national in our outlook.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that was the reason. I'm not sure that the people who did the coup in 1966 had any idea about politics. They just wanted to get rid of the leaders that they killed in 1966 and do a coup. Seriously. We had independence in 1960. 66, they killed a huge number of politicians from the northern part of the country and from the southwestern part of the country. And the military stayed in power for a long, long, long time. When they decided to come back and finally give up power, forget the experiment of 1970, the military decided to create a political system that pretty much mirrors the military system. Hierarchical central control, a very powerful leader.
And that is what we have now.
Yeah, that is, now we have a legislature. The military didn't have a legislature. But we have a legislature.
I mean, a centralized government.
But the presidential system of government vests a lot more power on the president than, say, a parliamentary system would do. Another thing to do, another difference, is that you don't become the prime minister or the president or whatever unless you become a member of assembly, unless you are elected as a legislator.
But wouldn't it be better that the president or the prime minister of the country is elected directly by the people instead of representatives? We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, you'll respond to this.
Okay.
Now let's go on a quick break, and when we come back, Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed will be here to take us through what he thinks is good for the future of Nigeria. Please stay with us. What's your perspective on the state police?
We are not right for it. Not all states can afford it. For you to have a state police, you need to have a strong central police. The police is a reflection of every society. So if you are saying the police is corrupt, our society is corrupt. When did corruption come into the police? You cannot send your animal to where they train police officers. Inspector General of Police, it was on live TV. He said his budgetary allocation for fueling of operational cars can only last him 4 months in a year. There are 12 months in a year.
4 months in a year.
4 months.
So where does it get the revenue? Fireworks. Only on TVC News. You're welcome back. Now, if you're just joining us, I've been speaking with Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed. Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed was a former spokesman of the Northern Elders Forum, and also he recently resigned as political advisor to President Bola Tinubu. And he left off, well, he was talking about what may be good for the future of Nigeria, talking about who to directly elect the president or the prime minister of the republic called Nigeria. Now, the question was, which one do you think is the best? The people directly elect the #1 citizen, or you go through some representatives? What do you think is best for us in Nigeria?
I'll tell you what I think is best for Nigeria. I think we've done clearly our political system is running into serious difficulties. And I think it's time to put our politics on the table, get genuine representatives of the people, knowledgeable, experienced, people who can understand flaws and weaknesses and strengths. And then ask them to advise on the way forward.
Who will address this question?
Well, it is being asked. Now, many Nigerians are asking, do we need to continue? Well, I'm a member of the Patriots.
Exactly.
And we raised that issue. We raised that issue and would like Nigerians to debate this.
But your group also seems divided in what
we
they
are
really
divided.
want.
The truth is we're Nigerians. We may be patriots, but we are Nigerians. And we debate these issues. There is nothing that is settled. Absolutely nothing. What is important is Nigerians should be open-minded and support a review of the way in which Nigeria is structured, without making it clear that some advantages will be taken away, some disadvantages will be redressed, because then you alienate people. Everybody pays a price for when Nigeria is not working. And Nigeria is not working. That is the truth. You cannot protect people on their farms. You can't protect them in their towns. You can't protect them in their villages. You can't protect them on highways. Something is wrong. And you have military, you have intelligence. And we're losing a war. We've been fighting for the last 10 to 15 or 20 years.
And don't you think this war we're losing is more political?
No, it's not
because
political.
It seems to be a blackmail. Especially when we are approaching a major election. It is heightened.
No.
Okay, let me remind you, when President Jonathan was there and was going to run after he exhausted his acting capacity, some person said, if you run in that election, I remember precisely, they said, we'll make Nigeria ungovernable for you. He ran in that election, he won that election, and for the next 4 years, he was busy fighting insurgency. They really made Nigeria ungovernable. An election is just around the corner now, and there's this upbeat about security now. Don't you think it's more political?
No. Election is not around the corner at all. And President Tinubu inherited a horrible security situation. It hasn't gotten any worse. It just hasn't improved. So this tendency to attribute the upsurge or the downscaling of security and attach it to politics is buncombe, is nonsense. I was a member of a committee appointed by President Jonathan to dialogue with Boko Haram. And by that time, Boko Haram had already dug really deeply. It started under Eradua. And it had already dug very, very deeply in. And one of the reasons why Jonathan lost that election was substantially what appeared to be his inability to manage the Boko Haram insurgency.
Exactly what we're saying.
No, I said what appeared to be his inability. The truth was, by that time, the Nigerian state had misread Boko Haram, had mishandled Boko Haram, and didn't show the will to fight Boko Haram. And he was part of that government. Remember, he was part of the government? Yeah. Nobody knew Eradua was going to die, so nobody could have sat down there and started scheming, let's make Boko Haram worse for Jonathan because Jonathan was going to become president. Jonathan finished Eradua's first 2 years. The point I'm making is the wrong analysis, and it's very dangerous for Nigeria to begin to attach political connotations to our security. The truth about it is that consistently the Nigerian state has failed to deal with insecurity in the north, in the southeast, in the south-south. Substantially. Every leader who has come has left a worse situation.
So what we need to do is to ask, to be that way?
Well, I think there are many reasons. We don't have sufficient political will to deal with it.
When you talk about political will, let's be specific. What is this political will?
I think we haven't had leaders who would take on security headlong. Let's go back. Jonathan served for 6 years. And Jonathan's handling of the security situation was very weak. It was under him that we had full-blown Boko Haram all the way to 2005. And I was part of the campaign of President Buhari, and I can tell you now on air, one of the key issues we used to get Buhari elected was to tell Nigerians, if you want an end to this weak approach to Boko Haram, this tendency to just throw money at a problem and think it will go away, choose Buhari. Elect Buhari. Buhari
Is that something you know also about the Chibok kidnap? Because that was the biggest, people say the biggest blackmail of President Jonathan.
It wasn't blackmail, it was real.
It
wasn't blackmail. Of
but
course.
that government didn't believe it.
Are you saying? No, he didn't believe it. His wife didn't believe it. Look, to date, as we speak, more than 80 Chibok girls are still missing. Nobody knows where they are. Let's not make light of this. The Chibok girls were kidnapped. They were taken away from their families. Some were retrieved. Some we don't know where they are. There was no blackmail. Boko Haram kidnapped girls in Chibok town. They were waiting to sit for exams. They were taken away. So let's not kid with this. You asked me a question. What appears to be wrong with the manner in which we handle security? Exactly. And I mentioned lack of insufficient political will. A president should demand that the people he puts in charge of putting an end to this insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, insurgency, irredentism, ISWAP now. We have a military, we have intelligence services, we have policing. These are the people who are in charge of our security. If something is wrong, hold them responsible.
Okay, I agree with you, hold them responsible. How do you also explain this aspect that the de-radicalization that is now the talk of town of Boko Haram fighters, they say repentant Boko Haram fighters. Do you think it's a system that is helping us, that people arrested are not taken to court, they're not prosecuted, so that we serve as deterrent? Don't you think it also helps to...
Let me ask you a question in return. How many Boko Haram people, how many insurgents, how many kidnappers have you seen, read even in the newspapers, being prosecuted? Every day you hear people have been arrested.
That is the problem.
Exactly. That gets back to the point. You haven't had presidents who would hold these people to ransom, to account. You have a chief of army staff or chief of defense staff, you have IG, you have... I'll give you... Look at what happened in Benue. The president this president went to Benue, said sorry to the people. I'm very sorry. IG, how many people have been arrested? IG said not yet.
And the week after they arrested...
And he said, I want this matter to be done. As we speak, nobody has been, maybe a few people have been presented to the court. We don't know.
Let's quickly go to something else because of our time. The coalition is building up. Like I said earlier, people said there's a gang up from the north to oust the southern president that is barely just doing 4 years in office. ADC is coming up. PDP is challenged, but they're regrouping again. ADC is there. What is your thought about this? And what is the position of the North in deciding 2027 election?
You put in so much in your questions.
Yes.
Maybe that's why your program is called Fireworks. First of all, nobody has 8 years. You created the impression that the South has to do its 8 years. Who told you this? Nobody gives
because the North had 8 years.
Yes, but what does the Constitution give a president?
And the argument then after 4 years was that it's still the turn of the North, let them do another 4 years.
No. Let's go back to the Constitution. The Constitution says you serve for 4 years.
Yes.
After 4 years, you go back to the same people who gave you the 4 years and you say, it's me. Sorry if I've made mistakes here and there.
Then
I need another 4 years.
The convention there was after 4 years of President Buhari, give him another 4 years because he's the
in which case, the people who, when Jonathan was defeated, he should have said, no, I haven't finished the southern Nigerian term. He was defeated. He was defeated in his second term. When he came back, he completed 2 years of Eradua.
So is it true the North wants power in 2027?
Everybody wants power. The point I'm trying to point, there is no northern conspiracy at all. At all. I can tell you this. There's no northern conspiracy. There is as much division in the north as there is in the south. And there's no coalition, nobody. All this, sometimes I hear these things and I laugh. People think it's only when there is northern in power, southern in power, the north gets all worked up. It's not true. Look, the north voted for Abiola against the northerner. The north, 1993. I think it was 93. Against Tofa. Tofa in his own state lost to Abiola. So the North has a history of voting southern candidates. Hold it.
Okay.
They voted, we voted. We voted for Obasanjo twice. We voted for Jonathan in 2011. Northerners
Just
also
like the South voted for.
Exactly. So the point is this tendency to think, oh, the Northerners are against Southern president. It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
And we don't keep the rotational system we're talking about.
There is no such thing as rotational. Who said there is?
The North, the South, rotation between the North. That's the convention among the political parties.
You talk about convention, I'm talking to you about the law. If politicians want the convention to fit the law, you first go to the law. What does the law say? The law says you serve for 4 years, go back again, and ask for another mandate. Whether you are from the north or south or from the skies.
Will you join the coalition?
I'm a member of a party, which is not part of it. My party is the PRP. And we're not part of the coalition now. I don't know what would happen in future. But our party is principled, is ideologically, is based on principles. We will join or do anything politically that we believe is in the interest of Nigeria.
Do you believe in the Atiku El-Rufai as front runners in the presidency of Nigeria?
I don't know. Let me tell you the truth. I think, and I've written this extensively, I think both the government and the coalition got their timings wrong. I think the coalition...
Thank you so much, Malam, for coming on my talk today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, this is all that time will permit us to take on this particular edition of Fireworks. Now, do make it a